Welcome back to the reading of Reclaim Yourself by me, Jessica Nuñez-LaMarre. Chapter 5, A New Family. One night, Wayne and I stayed in, lounging on the couch, watching Spartacus and me catching up on 50 Shades of Grey, and a connection sparked between us. We found ourselves intimately locked in love, and this time it felt different. After our rendezvous, I came out of the bedroom and lay next to him on the recliner in my burgundy Victoria's Secret nightgown, my head resting on Wayne's chest. I felt whole and complete, like time was slowing down. He placed his hand on my stomach, and at that moment, I knew I would become pregnant. The insight from natural family planning and this explosive wholeness inside of me was all the verification I needed. A couple of weeks later, my premonition was confirmed. There was a part of me that was excited and a part of me that was scared. We knew we wanted to have kids one day, yet we had not been planning for a baby. When I told Wayne, he was not excited. "Are you kidding me?" he responded, rolling his eyes and walking away. The pain in my heart was unfathomable. I envisioned him embracing me and spinning me around and putting me down and looking in my eyes and kissing me. Instead, he walked away, seemingly upset. This was the first time, as a brand new mother, I felt alone and abandoned. At 4 weeks pregnant, this feeling of being alone would be the first of many on my journey as a mother. I loved being pregnant. I loved every moment. Even our Sunday nights with a handful of other couples gathered around a small classroom on the floor, learning about natural birthing in our Bradley Method classes. I had no idea what I was getting into, and these classes provided me with more confidence. I glowed. I was never sick. My hair was thick. My skin was clear. I was one of those pregnant women some love to hate. Giving birth was quite another story. Sitting in the office on a Friday afternoon, I was 39 weeks pregnant, responding to emails from the week and finishing up a coverage plan for my maternity leave. Done for the week, I headed home. I wanted to lay in bed all day Saturday, yet I had already made commitments. And at that time in my life, the word boundary wasn't even in my vocabulary. On the warm, breezy March day, I walked over the catwalk, watching the cars go by, holding my stomach, hoping to see my sister. She had my ticket for the baseball game. Each inning went by with the contraction and loosening of my large, low, round belly. "Braxton hits," I continuously repeated to myself as I walked in the door of our small condo that we purchased to be closer to work. I lay down on the couch. I so badly wanted to nap, yet my eyes wouldn't close. Off to the next activity. Wayne drove us to dinner at Marley's Sports Grill, talking and laughing, all while exhausted. I felt like I peed myself a little. I walked into the bathroom nervously. Nope, I was good. I made my way back to my seat, which somehow was in the middle of a long, crowded booth. I sat down with relief. Yet the next thing I knew, my entire pant leg was soaked. I put my head down, shook it. I wanted to cry. I was exhausted, and I knew what was coming would take an immense amount of energy. My doula showed up shortly after we arrived at our condo. The night was spent with Wayne massaging my back and our doula rubbing essential oils on my ankles as I tried to breathe through the excruciating contractions in my stomach and back. The pain was so intense I threw up. Hopeful from the information in our Bradley Method class, I could be around 8 centimeters since I was vomiting. I convinced Wayne and the doula to go to the hospital. The triage nurses called me back. After 11 hours of labor, I was only 3 centimeters dilated. I felt unmotivated. Did I just labor for 11 hours, puke, not sleep, and endure this immense amount of pain and my cervix is barely dilated. I labored naturally with the round ball and the weird-shaped one for hours because it was on my 3-page birth plan. Then the doctors had popped in and said, "You're not progressing fast enough." They put Wayne and me in the bathtub and told Wayne to rub my nipples to make the contractions come faster. I told him, "If you effing touch my nipples, I will kill you." The bathtub didn't help. Finally, at 2 p.m., after more than 18 hours of labor, I was done. I looked at Wayne and said, "I need an epidural." He was pissed. "I did not go through all those Bradley method classes for you to get an epidural." My doula chimed in, unhelpfully. "You are so close." I was 8 centimeters and 90% effaced. To deliver, the goal is 10 centimeters and 100% effaced. I knew from the classes that from 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters is the most painful, when your pelvis grinds apart to allow the baby to go through your birth canal. I insisted, "No, I need an epidural. I'm exhausted. I just can't take this pain anymore. You have no idea how much it hurts." "I've been rubbing your back forever. My hands hurt," Wayne chimed in. I had no words. Just then, my sister Jennifer walked in and relief set in. "Thank God," I said to myself. There is something about growing up in a home where love and pain, laughter and yelling, alcohol and punishment. We survived together. We have the kind of sibling bond that has grown as we have. I looked her directly in the eyes and said, "You go get the anesthesiologist and don't come back until you do." She did as I instructed, even with the looks of disapproval from Wayne and my doula. Wayne left the room. Yes, I labored alone because he was pissed I got an epidural. Rage. The epidural was a gift from God. I closed my eyes for some much-needed rest, and then at 20 hours into labor, it was time to push. Excited to hold this baby, I was ready. However, she wasn't. The pushing lasted so long that I needed an oxygen mask. After 2 hours of pushing, my beautiful baby came into the world. Such a miracle. I was exhausted and overwhelmed with joy and relief. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know what exhaustion was. The rage that flowed through me when I woke up to breastfeed Blake and saw Wayne sleeping felt like molten lava spewing from me that could melt him. And parts of me wanted it to. If I woke him up to ask for help, sometimes he would, begrudgingly. More often, he would say he had to work the next day and roll over. The rage grew to hate, and hate to something. I despised him. He did whatever he wanted. He went out with his friends, had a beer after work, slept, ate, and showered when he wanted. He didn't have another human attached to him all day. I was so over it. "I'm fine," I heard myself say to anyone who asked how I was feeling, or "I'm good," or "I'm okay." I found myself saying these phrases mostly when I was not fine, not good, and not okay. They covered up what I was truly feeling, masked issues in my relationships, in my life, kept me overworked, and kept me stressed. I wanted to believe the words I spoke, but there was a part of me that couldn't. I knew there was a different way. There had to be. What these words did was keep me from getting to the core. These words kept me disconnected from myself and from rediscovering myself. It was always fine until it wasn't. 6 weeks into motherhood, I was exhausted. I wanted a shower. My nipples were healing from scabs of new motherhood breastfeeding. I was completely overwhelmed. I just thought it was a part of life. What I wanted was help and to feel supported. Although my sister and her husband were staying with me for a little while, I wanted help from Wayne. I reached my breaking point. He had gone out with his friends again and came home drunk. And just like every other night, I was up with the baby by myself. The next morning, fraught with what to do, as I had a conversation in every way I knew how at the time. At this point, we had been married 3 years and had never used the D word. But I was desperate for change, and honestly, I wanted out. At that point, I didn't care if it may be harder on my own. I couldn't handle the emotional pain from our relationship along with the physical and mental exhaustion of a new baby. As anger flooded my whole being, I walked into my office, sat down, and searched for how to get a divorce with a covenant marriage. Trusty Google popped up the answer in microseconds. I read the allowable grounds for divorce. Of the 8 in Arizona, alcohol is one of them. Perfect, popped into my exhausted, overly stressed mind. I then searched for divorce papers for a covenant marriage in Arizona, and to my surprise, they were there. I felt relief, grief, sadness, hurt, pain, and anger, all combined. And they were moving back and forth through me. Yet I knew one thing was certain. I could no longer live this way. I needed to take care of my baby. I picked up the stack of divorce papers off my printer, and with my baby asleep in the other room, I walked out of my office and into the dining room. I handed him the papers. Relief set in. And so did the fear of doing it all on my own. The fear of being divorced, the fear of what others would think. Yet I was ready for it all to come crashing down. It couldn't be worse than what I was going through. Or could it? He looked at me with shock in his eyes and a twinge of pain. Jess, you want to get a divorce? Yes. I cannot do this anymore. Anger was still filling my whole being, and not a drop of compassion or empathy filled me. We can make this easy. We can both agree to get this divorce, or we can do it the hard way, and I can use alcohol as the reason. He was stunned. If this is what you want, I'll do it. It's what I want. And with that, I went to my room, locked the door, and somehow managed to fall asleep next to my newborn baby. The moment I was ready and willing to lose it all for the sake of a better life was the moment when it all shifted. He shifted. He committed to change. He changed more diapers, played with Blake more, and stopped going out to get drunk with his friends. With the additional help, support, and the desire, I could see within him that he wanted this to work. And I decided to stay.